In this video, a very contentious topic, the $25,000 Tesla. 1. Will it exist? 2. Is it possible? 3. Will it be unveiled at Tesla's Investor Day in just a matter of days? If so, will reservations be available? Will this product even be sold to consumers, or will it only operate exclusively as a robotaxi? Will it have a steering wheel and pedals? How about the gross automotive margins? Will it be profitable? How many of these things could possibly sell per year? I'm going to be discussing, sharing, and reacting to a range of opinions, including my own, and making some very dangerous predictions ahead of Tesla's Investor Day 2023. P.S. I'm just about to drop what will unquestionably be the most spicy, controversial video I've ever posted to Patreon. For the record, I literally can't post that video here on YouTube, instantly get banned and deplatformed. P.S. Go fuck yourselves, YouTube. How about letting people share their thoughts and opinions, you tyrannical motherfuckers? So if you think you can handle it, stay tuned. This will be dropping on Patreon very soon. In fact, it may already be live by the time you watch this video. If you're not a member of Patreon, you can join with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment. So before we get to some opinions from Ark Invest and the team over at Munro Associates, first, the Wall Street stock analyst who actually does understand Tesla. Rarer than hen's teeth. Pierre Ferragu of New Street Research has this to say: Model 2 is critical to the continued success of Tesla, and we should learn a lot more this week about it. Here's an overview of what we expect in a few slides. First slide. We expect Model 2 to be 15% shorter, 30% lighter, and 25% smaller battery than the Model 3. We looked at how ICE compact compared to mid-size ICE sedans and extrapolated the comparison between Model 3 and ICE mid-size sedans to reach this conclusion. If you want to nerd it out and pause, go for your life. On the left here, a comparison between Model 3 and the hypothetical Model 2, aka the $25,000 Tesla, aka the Tesla Q, aka it doesn't have a name yet, 15% shorter, which is comparable to other compact electric vehicles, 30% lighter, which is massive. Get it massive because, that's not even funny. For real though, a 30% reduction in weight would be massive for a couple of reasons. 1, 30% less stuff, less materials. More importantly, however, 30% less mass means you need a much smaller battery for comparable range. Regarding the weight here, the difference, Model 3, 1.6 tons. Model 2, they're estimating 1.1 tons. Full aluminium body and chassis versus a steel aluminium alloy for Model 3. So lighter material, smaller battery in a structural battery pack, and a smaller vehicle, less glass, panels, and other components equals cheaper. And battery capacity. Model 3, 54 kilowatt hours, 420 kilogram battery, nice. Versus the Model 2, they're estimating a 40 kilowatt hour battery, both models using LFP batteries. We expect Model 2 with 40 kilowatt hours to have upwards of 250 miles of range versus 278 for the Model 3. I think these estimates are probably about on point. If you guys want to compare some other vehicles here, the BMW 3, Honda Accord and Model 3 versus Toyota Corolla, Toyota Yaris and Model 2, go for it. We're going to move on. On to the next slide. We expect Model 2 to be 37% less expensive to build than Model 3. More on this in a moment. Half the difference derives directly from the car being smaller, as in less stuff, etc. Makes sense. The other half mostly from design, architecture, and manufacturing innovations. This means a $21.6 thousand cost of goods at scale, including full FSD hardware. Here's a detailed view of this slide in terms of costs. $12,500 cost reduction between Model 3 and Model 2, half of that being driven by size and half by specs and innovation. If you guys want to nerd out and look at all the numbers, go for it. I'm just going to read from the right here. The difference between the Tesla Model 2 versus the Model 3. Half the cost reduction is driven by size and equivalent to what we see for ICE cars, and the other half is driven partly by reduced specifications and by innovation and scale. Process innovations such as gigacasting and structural battery reduce number of required robots by a lot. The more integrated process mentioned in the bullet above reduce labor costs as well. Energy, logistics, warranty, overhead costs all correlate with size. Regarding the body and exterior, smaller, less stuff, less cost, smaller chassis, cheaper tires, wheels, brakes, suspension, etc. Lower spec internal trim, lower spec infotainment and speakers. Again, this is a bit of a no-brainer. The speakers, the infotainment, the electronics in a Model 3 or Y, really good. Like ridiculous. A bit of overkill for a more affordable mass market vehicle. And then there's some savings in the battery cost as well. Continuing on. FSD capable with superior range and performance with the screen and the supercharging experience of Tesla, Model 2 will command a premium on the likes of a Corolla. Like Model 3 commands a premium over an Accord. It means gross margin above 20% versus mid-single digits for Corolla. Now, FYI, I believe longer term, Tesla will actually be able to maintain 30 to 40% gross automotive margins. Not tomorrow, not next week, but long term, I think that's the range that they'll be in. Remember, EVs are still a new technology. Mass production has still not yet happened. There's a huge amount of innovation in terms of driving costs down to produce electric vehicles. I expect by the end of this decade, which by the way, this has been in my Tesla valuation model from the get-go, by the end of this decade, it will cost Tesla approximately half as much money to produce today's Model 3 or Y, half the price, with today's features. Let's look at this slide in detail. We expect the Tesla to eventually be priced at $25,000, excluding FSD, with a gross margin of 20% or more. And we see here Tesla Model Y versus compact ICE peers. On the left here, we've got a mini hardtop at $30,000, Tesla Model 2 at $27,000, and a Toyota Corolla at $20,000. Excluding the EV powertrain, we expect Model 2 material costs to be similar to those of a Toyota Corolla, with the addition of the full self-driving hardware, $11,000 versus $10,000 as a result. So just to be clear, their estimates here is that the cost to produce a Tesla Model 2, including the high-tech hardware to enable autonomy, which itself costs thousands of dollars, the entire materials cost, $11,000 versus the entire cost to produce a Corolla that doesn't have the hardware for full self-driving, or nearly the number of features, or nearly the amount of tech, $10,000. For Tesla to produce an unequivocally superior vehicle on everything that matters, about the same price. How do you think this ends for the Corolla? The Model 2 will retain all that makes Tesla unique today: autopilot and FSD, the screen experience, superior performance, and range. In addition, and this is very important, the total cost of ownership of the Model 2 will be lower than a compact equivalent to the Corolla. This means Tesla will be able to price the base model of the Model 2 at a significant premium to an economy compact, although more attractive than a premium compact. Back to the thread here. Implications. Tesla can maintain a gross margin heading toward 30% for automotive, with Model 2 and FSD both increasing in the mix. Moreover, at a $25,000 MSRP, Model 2 would address 80% of the car market and paves the way for Tesla to exceed 12 million units at $400 billion in auto revenues by 2030. While this is true, I actually believe that this Model 2 alone itself could be doing 12 plus million units per year, which doesn't include any volume for the 3 or Y, or S, or X, or Cybertruck, or Semi, or Roadster, or a van. You get the point, right? Now, some thoughts from Ark Invest's Brett Winton.
Your thought is this next vehicle that Tesla might announce wouldn't necessarily be something smaller battery. It's Robotaxi is the direction.
I think so. And I mean, if I had to guess, I think that there's a optimization they could do in providing a Robotaxi that at least has 2 or maybe 4 separate passenger compartments that are independent of each other. As in,
oh wow!
So part of the problem with Robotaxi, in our view, is that you will you'll massively increase the number of miles that people drive on roads, because it's going to be much less expensive and much less convenient to ride around in a car.
Sure.
And so it's like, I don't go to downtown LA because it's like an hour and 15-minute slog, and it's expensive in an Uber, and driving myself, it's like exhausting. Yeah. But if instead of costing $3 a mile, it costs 30 cents a mile, and I'm just riding in the back seat, not only will I do it, everybody will do it. And so traffic will get worse because the pain of sitting in traffic isn't as high, and it's not as costly to go from place to place.
Sure.
Okay. And so then, Uber had this great idea. They're like, we'll do Uber Pool. People will save money to ride with other people along the route. And,
but that's weird.
people didn't use that because then you're like sitting next to a stranger, right? And so you definitely won't want to do that in a Robotaxi, because in a Robotaxi, you're either by yourself, you don't even have the Uber driver, right? You're just by yourself or with a stranger. No way you choose the stranger to save yourself like 5 cents a mile, right? But if you can create a Robotaxi that has like separate compartments that open up, and it's like your own little pod, and since it's like, you don't actually care how long it takes anyway, because you're just, watching Netflix anyway, then you could have something that enabled that kind of pooled concept to work.
So that's actually interesting. So initially, because y'all have a very strong bull thesis on self-driving auto taxi, I think your Tesla projections almost exclusively, in your bull case, give most of your weight to the taxis.
It's like two-thirds of the value of Tesla from 5 years from now is, in our view, driven by Robotaxi, versus 1/3 to electric vehicles. And but I suspect the product they'll release will be this is an inexpensive vehicle platform to manufacture that's optimized for adaptation to Robotaxi, but also we can sell it into people who are the kind of like median car buyer, not just the average car buyer in the US, which is a lower price point.
So that would be the $25,000-ish car plus maybe some inflation since then.
Right. And I don't know what the price point would be, but think about, half the cost to produce of the Model 3. And so if the average Model 3 is selling for 50, yeah, maybe 25 or 30.
And why do you think they would announce that now?
Why? Because I think that they are gearing up to manufacture it, because they are...
Even before Cyber and Semi?
Well, no, I think they'll announce that they're doing it. They'll reveal, just like they did with the Cybertruck, they'll reveal what it looks like. And then they'll go through kind of engineering for manufacture. And so that'll take a year or two.
Yeah. Wow.
Some fascinating thoughts there from Brett of Ark Invest. First of all, the individual pods. I mean, this is almost a no-brainer, and I don't necessarily mean this exact manifestation, but Tesla's been very clear. They have been working on a dedicated Robotaxi platform, a vehicle that reimagines what a vehicle is on the assumption that autonomy is solved. What does the interior of such a vehicle look like? Are the seats facing one another? Does each seat have an independent screen for infotainment, entertainment, gaming, communications, etc.? Or, like Brett suggests, are there individual pods? Who knows? But the point is, Tesla's already flagged the fact that this isn't going to be a conventional vehicle. It's going to be designed around the fact that autonomy is solved. Now, the caveat here, this is going to be a vehicle platform, so there's probably going to be multiple variations. Here's the dedicated Robotaxi design. Here's the consumer design. Here's another variation for commercial or couriers, who knows? But I definitely think Brett's onto something here. And in terms of the costs, Ark Invest have done a lot of work modeling Wright's law. They believe they have a very clear indication of where EV costs will be in the future. I personally think that today, or at least tomorrow, it would absolutely be viable for Tesla to produce a compelling, profitable electric vehicle with many, but not all the features of Model 3 or Y for significantly lower cost. My own Tesla valuation model has estimates for each Tesla product lineup from now until the end of the decade, including the cost to produce and the price it'll be sold for. And my own estimates align fairly closely with those of both Pierre Ferragu and those from Ark Invest. And it's very important to understand, right now, it's not necessary for Tesla to release a $25,000 vehicle. I personally believe that they will be selling approximately 4 million Model 3 and Model Y combined in the future. They're currently ramping up capacity to meet maybe half this amount in Austin and Berlin. They've already got existing capacity at Fremont and Shanghai. But I believe these vehicles alone, the 3 and Y platform combined, give or take around 4 million units per year long term. I don't think this new vehicle will be released by Tesla until 3 and Y have significantly ramped up, but it will absolutely be viable. Smaller vehicle, less materials, less weight, less battery, some more manufacturing innovation, lower spec infotainment, lower spec screens, speakers, etc. This stuff all counts. And now a few comments from Corey over at Munro Associates. If you watched yesterday's video, they may sound familiar, but it's worth hearing these once more.
Elon has said the Gen 3 platform is going to be half the cost, half the factory space, half the price.
So that will be an altruistic goal. If Tesla offers the world a $25,000 EV, it's going to have to be small. It'll only have one motor. It'll have a small battery. It'll have to be relatively light. If it has hardware 4.0, that's like a free gift, because just because it's an EV doesn't mean it has to come with all that sensor suite, but it probably will, because Tesla will sell every vehicle with the hardware capabilities to be autonomous. They won't sell it without. That makes it even more amazing, because if you look at some of the cheaper OEMs out there, EVs, they don't, like the Bolt. Can you put it in autopilot? No. Mm-hmm. Sure, it might be 27 grand or 30 grand, but it's just an electric little car. So GM's almost there, $30,000, but people have to want to buy it. It has to have the functional objectives to perform at a level that satisfies the consumer. So will it be a tiny two-door hatch like a Honda CR-V back in the day? Or was it not CR-V? Honda, was it HRV? I don't know my Honda cars. The little tiny Honda, the Civic hatch. So if I had to imagine a Model 3 that was lower cost, it would have a gigacasting in the front, a gigacasting in the rear. It would use a structural battery pack with 4680s. It would eliminate the floor pan, essentially be like the Texas Model Y. You could realize significant savings there, particularly in the manufacturing costs.
So to Corey's point, in truth, he's right. At this point in time, Tesla could continue to sell many, many, many millions more Model 3 and Model Y annually without even needing to introduce a more affordable vehicle. To do so would really be an act of philanthropy. They could sell higher priced vehicles with much higher profit margins, make much more per vehicle sold. But Tesla's trying to disrupt themselves. They've already done this once. The Model S and X. You guys remember back in the day, the Model 3s announced, oh my God, it's going to cannibalize sales from the Model S. Well, true, it did. Because now some consumers thought, well, I don't really need the Model S, I'll just buy the Model 3. The same thing's going to happen when Tesla announces a more affordable vehicle. There will be cannibalization. Some consumers are like, well, now I've got the choice. Do I really need a high-end, well-spec'd Tesla? Or is the more economical but still awesome Tesla going to suit my needs? And it makes me wonder, because this is a very delicate balance for Tesla. They're walking a fine line here. Just imagine what happens to the order flow on new Model 3 and Model Y purchases if Tesla publicly announces they've got a vehicle coming out soon that's going to be significantly cheaper. Many people will cancel their orders on the 3 and Y. However, many of those orders will now become orders for the new vehicle. In addition, the market absolutely blows wide open. As I've mentioned in the past, a linear decrease in the cost will create an exponential increase in demand. So it's now time for my own speculation. I do believe at Tesla's 2023 Invest Today, which I believe technically is a little over 100 hours from now, depending on when you're watching this, Tesla will unveil this next-gen platform. Will they discuss pricing? I don't know. Will they open reservations or pre-orders? I don't know. Less than 50% chance on that. But given the delicate nature, the risk of cannibalization, I do wonder, will this vehicle ever be available for consumers to purchase for personal use? Probably. Will it initially? I'm not so sure. What if, and bear with me folks, what if Tesla initially launches this vehicle, at least one variation of this platform, as a pure robotaxi play? If they're confident enough in solving autonomy, no steering wheel, no pedals, much more economical to produce, what if Tesla decides to sell these vehicles to people who want to operate a robotaxi fleet, or alternatively, or in addition, decides to build out their own robotaxi fleet? After all, they've got $20 billion sitting around doing absolutely fucking nothing. Actually less than nothing, eroding due to inflation. I'm not saying Tesla would do this, but just to illustrate the extreme example, if Tesla wanted, they could take that $20 billion and spend it producing a fleet of about 1.5 million of these $25,000 vehicles to operate independently themselves, to just have them all out on roads as robotaxis. I think this is a trick many are missing. I will be very surprised if Tesla announces at Invest Today 2023, we're releasing a new $25,000 vehicle, you can start ordering them now, here's a link, get in line. They might do it, this is not a high confidence prediction, but I suspect the most likely outcome is we'll see a clear differentiation. Multiple vehicles built on this platform, one a dedicated robotaxi, the lowest possible price to produce, less stuff in it. Absolute robotaxi focused vehicle. Another variation that will actually be sold to consumers to compete with the likes of a Toyota Corolla. Probably a slightly higher price, maybe $5,000 more expensive. Maybe this is a $30,000 vehicle. And then maybe some other variations on that platform as well. Of course, I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. Corey from Munro Associates will be pretty surprised if Tesla does release this thing. After all, he's describing it really as an act of philanthropy or charity. Ark Invest, very interested in a potential dedicated robotaxi designed specifically with autonomy in mind. Pierre Ferragu of New Street Research showing. And by the way, I think most of those predictions are actually on point. How Tesla could produce a vehicle for this cost, the amount of range, the weight, where they save the money, it's absolutely viable. But the trick, as I mentioned, Tesla is still going to sell many millions of Model 3 and Model Ys every year as production continues to ramp up. Strategically, from a pure business point of view, it probably doesn't make sense for Tesla to launch this $25,000 vehicle for a number of years. But from a mission point of view, accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy, robotaxis are where Tesla gets the most bang for buck. The more affordable Tesla can produce a dedicated robotaxi vehicle, the better it is for their mission in transitioning the world to sustainable energy. A robotaxi has far higher utilization than a personally owned vehicle, just like a semi. So for every one Tesla robotaxi out on roads, it could have the same impact in terms of their mission as half a dozen personally owned vehicles. And through that lens, this really starts to make sense. Anyway, we'll know exactly how things turn out in just a matter of days. Let me know in the comments below, what are your predictions? What's Tesla going to announce at their Invest Today? Will there be variations of this $25,000 vehicle? Will it be $25,000? Will consumers be able to purchase this? Or will it just be a dedicated robotaxi? Or will there be multiple variations? Won't be too long and we'll know the answers. So enough of my low confidence predictions. It's time for an extremely high confidence prediction. Athletic Greens AG1 will make you feel and perform your best. I've been taking Athletic Greens AG1 daily now for almost 2 years. I've never felt better. I still read all the comments here on YouTube, and day after day, the testimonials continue to roll in. This stuff is absolutely no joke. People around the world are having similar results to myself. More energy, better mood, better digestion. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps, which we all have. It has 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, digestive enzymes to help with digestion, prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens, boost immunity, mood, boost energy, significantly in my case, and loads more. I've had people saying they're sleeping better, they're feeling better, they're no longer fighting with their wife. Seriously, results may vary. And if you guys head to athleticgreens.com/SMR, or click the link in the pinned comment. You get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2, and there's a 90-day money-back guarantee, so absolutely nothing to lose and loads to gain. As I said earlier, I don't really know what we're going to learn at Tesla's Invest today regarding the $25,000 vehicle. I have a very low level of confidence on my predictions, but I have a very high level of confidence in my prediction regarding Athletic Greens AG1. It helps me feel and perform my best. I've now read hundreds of testimonials from you guys and girls who've been taking this stuff for a few weeks, a few months, and absolutely swear by it and have had similar results. It can't be a coincidence. So what are you waiting for? Head to athleticgreens.com/SMR and start feeling and performing your best today. And just finally, as I mentioned, an incredibly spicy, council-worthy video will be dropping on Patreon very soon. If you think you can handle it, you know where to find it. And as I mentioned, there's literally zero way I could post this on YouTube and not get instantly banned for it. See you over on Patreon. Love ya.